Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the source material surrounding something absolutely massive, the 2026 World Cup. Just to put the sheer scale of this into perspective, we're talking about an event projected to draw over 5 billion viewers worldwide. That's literal billions in revenue, folks. The world's biggest sporting spectacle is coming right here to North America, and it's bringing this tidal wave of cultural and economic shifts with it. So today we're going to unpack the data, look at the tactical realities on the pitch, and explore the massive cultural implications this tournament holds. Now, you might be wondering, what's the big question here? Well, it's this. Can the United States truly become a football nation? For decades, the U.S. has played the role of a massive, enthusiastic host for major global events. But transitioning from a gracious host throwing a great party to a genuine, formidable powerhouse on the field, that's notoriously difficult. You see, host nations often struggle because they miss out on competitive qualifying matches in the years leading up to the tournament. It's really easy to stumble into the group stage without that battle-hardened sharpness. So the data poses a really fascinating mystery for us today. Can the U.S. finally bridge that gap between putting on an incredible spectacle and actually dominating the pitch? Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The biggest World Cup ever. 2. The American soccer revolution. 3. Tactical strengths, the arsenal. 4. The weight of home pressure. And 5. A new football nation. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the biggest World Cup ever. 48. That is the magic number. For the very first time in history, 48 teams are going to participate in this tournament. The sources emphasize how this massive expansion completely rewrites the playbook, both tactically and logistically. It changes the group stage math entirely, right? A larger tournament means the margin for error in those early rounds shifts, but it also guarantees that teams are going to face a much more grueling, totally unpredictable path to the final. Tactically speaking, managers now have to prep for a vastly wider variety of playing styles from emerging nations making their debuts. It essentially turns the whole tournament into the sprawling continental endurance test. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we mean. We aren't just talking about more teams. We're talking about 3 host nations, the most matches in history, millions of international fans, and billions of viewers. The logistics are honestly staggering. Teams are going to have to navigate intense cross-continental travel, massive climate variations, and completely different time zones mid-tournament. The sources point out that these factors redefine modern football into an unparalleled global business. Major corporations are pouring money in, totally recognizing the incredible revenue, tourism, and sponsorship potential of a footprint that stretches unbroken from Mexico City all the way up to Toronto and across to Los Angeles. Moving right along to Section 2, the American soccer revolution. Think back a few decades. Soccer was firmly living in the shadows of the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball. It just wasn't the main event. But the domestic landscape has fundamentally changed. The recent rise of Major League Soccer isn't just about sold-out stadiums or the arrival of global megastars, it's about structural evolution. The recent financial boom has allowed domestic academies to actually start mirroring elite European youth setups. The old historical pay-to-play model is finally being challenged, and that is feeding a much more robust, technically gifted pipeline straight into the national team. The real revolution here is happening in those youth development structures that are at long last beginning to function at a world-class level. Which brings us to Section 3, tactical strengths, also known as the arsenal. The sources are incredibly clear on one specific point, and I quote, "The United States national team is entering a new era." Now, this isn't just domestic optimism talking. Look back at the 2010 or 2014 World Cup squads. You had maybe a handful of players testing themselves overseas. Today, the core of this roster is logging thousands of Champions League minutes. We are talking about key starters at massive, historic clubs like Juventus, AC Milan, and PSV Eindhoven. Surviving that week-in, week-out crucible of elite European competition has dramatically elevated the squad's baseline technical ability and, quite frankly, their overall tactical IQ. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is exactly what they bring to the pitch. According to the tactical analysis, this squad possesses a remarkably dangerous physical and strategic arsenal. Their sheer speed and elite athleticism allow them to transition from defense to attack in absolute seconds, ruthlessly punishing teams on the counter. But it's their pressing that truly stands out. They execute aggressive, high-block pressing triggers. That means the second they lose possession in the attacking third, the counter-press is instantaneous and highly coordinated. Combine that with a newly refined tactical discipline forged in those top European leagues, and they have the actual tools to disrupt and break down the world's best midfields. On paper, guys, this is the most physically gifted and tactically aware US squad in history.
But hold on, because that brings us to Section 4, the weight of home pressure.
Here is the reality check from our sources. You can have all the pace and high-pressing triggers in the world, but the World Cup is a totally different beast. It demands intangibles. Tactical weapons are essential just to compete, sure, but the requirements to actually win on this stage are vastly different. We're talking experience, mentality, leadership, composure. Historically, the US has really lacked deep tournament composure against elite, hardened nations. The physical traits that get a team out of the group stage are simply not the same mental traits required to survive a tense, chaotic 115th-minute quarterfinal knockout match. So the crucial point is this psychological burden of playing on home soil. It's consistently cited as the team's absolute biggest challenge. They are facing unprecedented domestic expectations from a newly awakened, incredibly demanding fan base. History shows us two distinct paths for host nations, right? You either harness the manic momentum of massive home crowds, like France did beautifully back in 1998, or you get entirely crushed by the weight of 80,000 screaming domestic fans expecting a deep run. Just think of Brazil's catastrophic emotional collapse in 2014. The US squad has to figure out how to channel this intense environment without letting the adrenaline compromise that tactical discipline. This mental battle, maintaining ultimate composure under suffocating pressure, is where their tournament is going to be won or lost.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, a new football nation.
The sources suggest the impact of 2026 could trigger a permanent shift in North American football history. A successful, deep run by the home team could mean football finally stands shoulder to shoulder with America's biggest, most entrenched sports. But what does that actually look like for the average fan? Well, it means broadcasting rights and viewership rivaling the NBA. It means fully subsidized elite youth academy systems expanding nationwide, permanently wiping out that pay-to-play barrier we talked about earlier. Ultimately, it means increased, sustained financial investment that permanently integrates football into the American sporting identity, rather than just getting a brief, fleeting spotlight every 4 years. So, we've unpacked the data, we've seen the undeniable tactical strengths forged in Europe's top leagues, and we've analyzed the massive, looming psychological hurdles of playing on home soil. So the question remains, can the USA truly handle that immense pressure, rise to the occasion, and host the greatest World Cup ever? It's this profound collision of elite physical execution versus battle-tested mental resilience. The whole world is waiting to see. Will they break under the weight, or will they ascend? Thanks for joining us for this explainer. We'll see you next time.